Today I'm going to talk about trusts. A lot of interviews for KYC analysts, KYC roles, KYB roles um, usually ask you how to deal with a trust. What do you look out for? So hopefully this recording or this video will help you with that. So basically, a trust is a relationship created whereby one party, the settler, gives another party or multiple parties, the trustees, the legal title to property of assets subject to certain duties for the benefit of others, the beneficiaries. So, identifying and understanding the client. You need to prove the existence of the client, recall the full legal name, full legal entity, obtain and record registry authority and authority number, record registered and operating addresses, identify, record any of the other addresses like trading addresses, domicile or mailing addresses, obtain a copy of the trust deeds and the type of trust, and where available, the LEI number. So that's optional. It's not required as a verified for CDD and EDD, the LEI number, and trading addresses and mailing addresses is not a must requirement for EDD and CDD. But if you do identify them, it's a bonus. Most of this information can be obtained from trust agreements and deeds, independent annual reports, primary, secondary sources, and usually third-party systems like Orbis could give you quite a lot of information as well. Determining the capacity which the client is acting. So you want to identify the capacity of the client in acting as a principal agent, who's the underlying parties, and the full names, registered and operating addresses, and due diligence of the entity types. This is all required for EDD and CDD, but not verified for EDD and CDD in regards to who the acting principal or agent is. And understanding the nature of business, so you need to understand what the business operates in, what does it do. You don't need to verify the NAC or industry number for CDD and EDD, but ideally you want to identify it and identify whether the client's operation in high risk industries. Can be obtained from the trustees and agreements, and annual reports is a really good one to get that information from as well. Understanding the nature and purpose of the relationship. So you need to determine why the relationship was established with the client, how the relationship with the client is established, and whether the business or organization has any existing relationships with the client. So you need to just identify for CDD and EDD. Source of funds. It's again, you need to identify where the funds have actually come from. So it could be normal business activities other than normal business, i.e. like one-off events. If the sources received from a one-off event, you want to identify or explanation or documentation of what that one-off event is. Usually you don't need to verify that for CDD, but you will need to do identify IDMB for EDD. And of course you would want to know if there's any evidence of source of wealth relates to any money laundering or terrorist finance. Legal reps, you need to identify all your legal reps, first names, last names, middle names, and that's all of your trustees, any corporate trust, any legal entities, any protectors and controllers, and of course where it's high risk, you need to know all your legal reps of your trustees, protectors, controllers are required to be identified and verified using primary sources only, which could be or two secondary sources depending on company bases. Ownership and UBO. So you want to identify and verify the full names of the individuals as well as the business entities, the full name, nationality, date of birth, gender, and residence for EDD and CDD. And only for EDD, you would need majority of the time identification, but sometimes for CDD as well. Excuse me. And you need to verify all the IBOs up to 25% for CDD and 10% for EDD. And you need to identify the UBOs as well for EDD and CDD. And ID is required for those UBOs if they're natural persons. And source of wealth and source of funds is exactly the same. You need to identify who you select settlers and your guarantors for the trust are. And basically where that information or source of wealth can be included or not included from, where's it come from pretty much. Is it business owners, salaries and earnings, lotteries, inheritance. Then screening is required to identify PEP sanctions, adverse news through Lexis, Orbis, WorldCheck. And sign off is required when you actually do sign off once you've got all that information. And of course, the regulatory requirements. This can happen throughout, and you will need to do MIFID, VATCA, EMI, Dodd-Frank, depending on what business you work for. Some may not require it because other departments actually do that. Hopefully this has given you an outline of what to expect for a trust, onboarding a trust. Thank you for listening.